Hey there, I'm Ann Savage with NC State University, and I'm here with a couple of our friends from Visit NC.
And I'm Marlise Taylor, Director of Research for Visit NC.
And I'm Andre Neighbors. I am Partner and Industry Relations Manager and overseeing the Retire NC program for Visit NC.
And so we're here today to talk about some work we did with y'all about the Retire NC program. And Andre, can you tell us about what the ask was, why you wanted us to partner for this research need?
Yeah, sure. So, give you a little bit of history of the Retire NC program, and I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version of that, the real quick one. So this program started back at the Department of Commerce, North Carolina Department of Commerce, in their Rural Development Office. And the onus of the program was to really reach out to some of the small, more rural communities. Retirement in North Carolina was kind of a huge to-do. Even during that time, and this was back in 2008, if I can remember correctly. And so the General Assembly decided to put this program into legislation, and the city of Lumberton was the pilot community. The program was designed to be for municipalities, towns, or cities where the applicants that could apply to be a part of this program, and we would market those programs as Certified Retirement Communities is really the name of the program, and they had to go through a vetting process of being community related. They had to have proper housing, low crime rate. They had to have walkability. Adequate health care, be within 30 to 50 miles of a healthcare facility. So certain criteria that they all had to meet. Had to have a whole marketing plan for themselves that they had to put together to present to commerce, and then tourism at the time. The Division of Tourism at the time was designed to help market the program as a place for retirees to call home. So another long story short there, the program was in rural development kind of died, but it was still written in the legislation, and tourism was still asked to promote this program. So we just continued to promote the program, took it over entirely. And then the legislature decided to also come in and say, well, I think we want to add counties and rather than just municipalities. So it's now a county program now. So now counties can participate. There was a cost to be a part of the program as well. It was at the beginning $10,000 up front, covered you for 5 years. Once they changed and made some adjustments to the legislation, it went to $3,000 per year for 5 years. So it went up a little bit, but for smaller, more rural communities, made it easier for them to go to their county commissioners or boards and ask for $3,000 rather than $10,000 up front, which was what it was designed to do. Again, this is a more rural-focused program. And the other part of that was it was also 50 cents multiplied by your population, whichever is greater. So it was 10,000 or 50 cents multiplied by your population, which is why some of your larger communities probably wouldn't apply because the cost would just be astronomical for them to participate. And again, it's why they think they wanted to focus on more smaller, more rural communities. So that's kind of how the program got started. Now we're kind of at the point now after 15 years or so that, we're really looking at how we're trying to attract those retirees through some of the research that we'll probably talk about a little bit later. We know that there was always a saying that, retirees will travel to a destination 5 to 7 times before they make a decision. And we never really, there was some research out there, but there wasn't really a whole lot that was convincing to us that that was the case. This research that we partnered with NC State on kind of validates that a little bit more now that they do travel several times before they make that decision, which is was a bonus for us to say, hey, it is a pretty viable program. The next step, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, would be to hopefully be able to get an economic impact study done, which I think is what this research that you guys have done for us is going to help us with. I don't know if we call that a long story short or not.
No, that's great. And so from the needs that y'all laid out for us with the Retire and See program, we kind of developed a research process. We said, here's where we are capable of doing something, but like that economic impact, we said we are not economists. We can kind of put together something that helps align what the research needs are for retirees and kind of the breadth of what that economic impact would be so that we can work with an economist later. But we put together this process and presented it to y'all so that you could tell us if it met the needs, what if we needed to tweak it at any point. So from the data, you've kind of highlighted some of it. The first piece that we thought was really exciting was wanting to know if, in fact, travel did play a role in those retirement decisions. And so from past research, we found 4 different travel-related items that had been found to have significant impact on the decision to retire. And we combined these all into one factor in our analysis to see if there was any impact. So we ran a predictive analysis and found a small but significant impact on both actual retirement behaviors and a future planned behavior. So those who had already moved to or within North Carolina for retirement had a higher travel index than those that had moved to another state besides North Carolina. Similarly, those who had not yet moved to North Carolina but rated North Carolina as their top choice for retirement also had a higher travel index than those who had another state as their top choice. So this let us know that, like you said, travel is in fact playing a role like we had heard for anecdotally, but now we were able to kind of have the data to back it up. But with our analysis, it also indicated that this is a small part of the decision-making process. So our next step was to understand a little bit more some of those factors that retirees think about when they're considering relocating. And so we came up with a set of retirement destination factors that people look into. We met with Andre and then also some of the Retire and See communities to go over the set of original factors we had from the past research and worked on that a little bit to make sure it included things that they had heard or seen from their retirees. And we wanted to get a sense of what was most important there for those. And what we found was that the cost of living, taxes, and quality of life were those factors that were most important, which wasn't surprising. We've seen that in academic literature as well as industry literature. And then we also wanted to know how North Carolina met those expectations of how those importance factors played out. And we found that North Carolina, for the majority of those importance factors, met or exceeded. But for those 3 most important, the taxes, cost of living, and quality of medical care, they were below expectations. Lastly, we used that set of factors to get a sense of how we could identify different groups. So we used respondents' ratings of retirement destination factors to put the retirees into similar groups based on their preferences for those destination factors. And we've had 4 groups that we identified through the analysis: outdoor opportunist, North Carolina enthusiast, positive prospects, and rooted in NC. And they were named based off of their preferences and their similar characteristics. And so overall, the North Carolina enthusiast and the rooted in NC group are excited about North Carolina. They're engaged. They had us ranked as a top choice for retirement relocation. And our outdoor opportunist and our positive prospects are somewhat engaged, but could use a little bit more convincing. So I want to ask Andre, how are these results helping you in the Retire and See program?
Oh, great. So what it's allowing us to do now is to really look at those factors and see how we can provide more value for the communities that are in the program. That was really our focus. 18 communities up to this point, by the way. And it also lets us know how we've done so far in attracting them, and then what we actually what we can do more of to maybe attract more of those folks to our area. Particularly those outdoor enthusiasts and those that are rooted in NC are really the ones that we know that we have those folks. We know that those folks are really looking at North Carolina, and don't know that we really have to really throw a lot of materials to them or marketing to them, because they already know about North Carolina. It's those other groups, those positive prospects are really the ones that's kind of top of mind for me. How can we get those folks to visit more? And even when I attend a lot of those consumer shows, we're talking directly to those potential retirees. What it is that they're looking for? How can we just engage with them more and get them more interested in North Carolina and this research that we have here, not only just for us at Visit NC and the Retire NC program, but I think this will also trickle down to those communities that they can actually take this research and use it on their behalf where they can attract more of those folks as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And Marlise, you're the research director, so we know you love research. How does this help or benefit you in your role?
Yeah, I love data, and you all know that. But this is something that we haven't had data on. So poor Andre has been, working with low budget, with lots of communities, with legislation, but with no data. So, it's always been really important for me to work with the universities, but it has to be the right project, right? So we've talked a lot in the past about what can we do as a university and as a state DMO to work together more. And this was just the perfect project because you're invested in North Carolina as a land-grant university. NC State is invested in North Carolina, and it just made sense because this is a custom study. And so what this is doing for me is just giving me data on a subset of travelers that we want to market to, that we have to market to, that we never had data for before. So it really, our regular travel leisure marketing, we have so much data, and we have, segments, we have pillars or whatever we want to call them. We have the segments. And we know, in this area of the country, this is what they perceive North Carolina to be. This is what we need to maybe enlighten them on. This is how we need to market to them. This is the type of traveler they are. But we didn't have that for retirees. So this data is really helpful for us to understand how they correlate, how they complement each other. But also it connects that travel marketing to retire marketing. So understanding that the travel, it might be a small part of the retirement decision, but, how can we use the travel behaviors that different areas of the country exhibit and have told us are important to them and, weave in some of those those heavy retirement index factors to certain subsets of that retirement community or those people that we want to go towards. So I just think that it's going to help Andre in particular understand, when he's at XYZ travel or retirement show, these people in this geographic area of the country really feel, maybe they're not familiar with North Carolina. So maybe he needs to talk more about the taxes or the medical care, because those were two of the top factors for retirees. But maybe he can also weave in the outdoor for this particular market. So it's really going to help him cater his messages, I guess, to the particular shows and to the particular areas. And then, like he said, it's going to help our partners be able to do the same, because he has retirement partners throughout the state, and some of them have more outdoor activities than others. Some of them have better health care than, so it's going to really help them talk about the information that's going to help their particular area. So it's really exciting to me. So the travel index in particular is going to help us to understand how our travel marketing and our retire marketing can then lead to those desired outcomes in terms of behaviors, both of the travelers and eventually, we hope, retirees.
Wonderful. We're excited to see how all that plays out. And I know for us, we really enjoyed being brought in to this kind of specific project where it was needed to be catered to those needs. It's helpful for the university to get a chance to work with destination marketing organizations or industry partners, one, to understand what needs are out there and how we can better create resources or research projects that can assist you all. But also, it opens up for future partnerships. We can think about how to build off of the project that we already did here. It gives us an opportunity also to bring students in. The breadth of work that destination marketing marketing organizations is something that's really hard to convey to students. And so having them have an opportunity to be a part of research projects or a part of some of the outputs from it is beneficial. And Marlies, like you mentioned, we're a land-grant university. I'm an extension person. So figuring out how this research can also help in our counties beyond the destination marketing organizations with our county offices or our Parks and Rec partners that we have across the state is also something that's beneficial, making sure we're all creating better communities and increasing that quality of life for all the residents.
And one thing I forgot to say, you touched on this a little bit about, and Andre did too, about, our next steps. Mm-hmm. And this really helps set us up. Yes, we want to have an impact study done on the impact of retirees to North Carolina, but you really can't go and do that until we had this research. And that's another benefit of working with the university. While Ann said she's not an economist and that's not what they do in her particular department, the university is such that we can make these connections. And, part of the report that we received was next steps. And here's what you might want to do. And they did a really great literature review for us to understand, what types of economic impact studies can be done for retirement marketing or for that retiree sector. And so now we know, what are the next steps and what are the type of projects, what are the type of programs and who we may be able to work with. So that is extremely helpful for us in kind of setting the baseline, laying the foundation, and then moving to the next steps.
And even to follow up on that, so what we're also hoping to is that this research and working with you guys also shows a great partnership, and we hope to convey that to our leadership, and that maybe our leadership will see how well we work together and maybe even decide, well, maybe we should fund these programs and fund these partnerships that we can, again, have this research done, be able to follow up and again, make sure we're doing the best possible things for the state.